Hey, before you get too comfortable, that is or Nicholas. Nicholas, wave your hand. Okay. And over there is Lily. All right. Can you say hello? Hi, Nicholas. Hi, Nicholas. Hi, Lily. Hi. Okay. So they're really special people today because we're going to confirm them. I don't know if you know what that means. When you were all baptized, part of being baptized, God's Spirit came on you. And the Holy Spirit sort of helps you. But when you get to their age, do this thing, the sacrament of the sacrament of confirmation. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask God to send the fullness of God's Spirit on them. And what we do that for is so that it'll help them live out their lives. Because they're just kind of typical teenagers. So, they have great things going on in their life, and then there's the other stuff, So not everybody likes them all the time, and school doesn't go well all the time. There's just all this extra stuff, and God's not going to change any of that, but He is going to help them so that they can get through that. So it is something you get to look forward to, some years from now, and for sometimes just like the pastor gets to do it, other times the bishop gets to do the confirmation, and that's kind of neat. But here's the important part. I need your help. Right after the homily, I'm going to invite you and all the congregation to pray for Nicholas and Lily. And that's important. We're all going to pray together and ask God to send His Spirit on them. And we have to do that. I mean, that's important. That's a job you and I have to do. So will you help me do that? Okay? Yeah. So when we get to that point, I'll invite the congregation to pray, and then I'll offer this amazing prayer. It's what I think is the best prayer in the whole Catholic Church. And we'll pray this prayer over Nicholas and Lily, and then the Spirit will be on them, and it'll help them for the rest of their life. Okay? Thanks so much. Appreciate your help in advance, all right? And if you get a chance to go to the festival, enjoy that. All right. For the adults, briefly, I'd like to take a look at this parable a little bit. Some of you might be troubled by the end of it. It seems harsh. And if that is, I don't know, if you want to stop by and have a chat, there's an interpretation of this parable where the guy in the end is actually the good guy in the story. So some of it just depends on how you look at it. One bit of background that would help, though, talent. The word talent in the story is not the way you and I think of it, something we're good at. A talent here is a unit of money, and a pretty big unit of money. So you have this rich guy who gives a lot of money to these three people and just asks them to be good stewards of it. And some of you would remember about a month ago, Father Anthony and I spent a couple weeks talking about that idea of stewardship, this idea that, stuff we're given, we need to take care of it. And we talked about the fact that God gives us our time, our talents, and our treasure, and He wants us to be good stewards of it. I just thought it might be interesting, though, to look at this parable from the point of view of that third servant who does nothing. Why? Why is he not a good steward? Now, the story gives us a few hints, but it's just a question, I think, that applies to all of us. We're asked by God to be good stewards of our time, our talent, and yes, our money, which is always an awkward conversation for many. But why don't we do it? And I just thought, if you allow me, I'd offer you two reasons that might be helpful. Maybe just naming them might give us a handle on something we can do about it. The first, as is mentioned in the parable, is just laziness. If you think about it, the other two guys, they took a lot of money and went out and doubled that money. That's not easy to do. It's not like you just go and invest it and poof, there it is. You got to work at doubling your money. And so maybe the guy just looks at it and says, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to cheat the guy. I'll put the money in the ground. That's what you did in those days. I'll just put the money in the ground and just let it go. Now, I don't know what that conjures up to you, but as I was thinking about this week, I realized I was reminded of something that happened to me just a couple weeks ago. And I realized that I had done the exact same thing. Every January, I take a look at my finances, and that's part of my stewardship. Make a rough estimate about what I think is going to come in, pick a percentage that I think the Lord is calling me to give, and then I figure out, okay, well, this is how much money there is to give. Where's it going to go? And I remember last January, there was this charity that I gave $25 to a month. No, actually, I think it was 20. And it dawned on me that, I should probably just up that to 25. Because, inflation, I knew it would matter to them. $5 might help every month. But that meant I needed to go online, and I needed to, get into their website and make the change. And I never did it. Despite my best intentions of thinking about that, I completely forgot that I did not do it until just a couple weeks ago. I was pulling up this document in my computer where I keep track of the giving. I was checking on something, and I was like, wait, I never did that? Oops. And it's just so easy, I think, in terms of our talent and service, the bulletin, you see something in the bulletin and you go like, oh, I should do that. But then you never really get around to doing it. It's, I think, common. And if you struggle with that, as I do sometimes, I just think being aware of it helps. Maybe just what that means is, I've got to, when something comes up like that, I need to make a point. I need to do it now, not put it off, because if I put it off, I'm going to keep putting it off. The other thing that might have happened to this guy, which I think also is common to us perhaps, I wonder if he thought it would not matter. I mean, think of it. The master is a rich guy. And he's given more money to these other two guys, and maybe the servant knows they're going to do really well with it. And maybe he looks at this and says, look, I only got 1 talent, which is still a reasonable amount of money, by the way. But, he's going to go, I only got 1 talent, and yes, I could invest it and make a little bit more money for the master, but what difference does it make? I mean, really, what difference does it make? I just wonder if perhaps that's in us as well. I don't know if you would know these statistics. The Catholic Ministry Appeal, every January, February, the diocese asks all of us to contribute to this, this appeal that, funds the ministries of the diocese. It's $8.5 million is what they raised this past year. That was their goal. Sounds like an enormous amount of money. And even here in our parish, we were asked, our goal was, I think, $165,000, which we met, by the way. Thank you very much. But you might look at that and say, $165,000 is an awful lot of money. And so, maybe when you're asked to give, you think, well, I could give $20, but what's $20 compared to $8.5 million, compared to $165 million? And you just get to the point where you're going like, it's not going to make any difference. And so then you do not give. But if I could allow you, if I could share with you the statistics of the parish, maybe I could point out to you that those little gifts matter. You would think that the only way to get to $165,000 at the parish is you need somebody who's going to write you a check for like $20,000 or $30,000, or even a lot of people that'll write you checks for like $10,000. And nobody in our parish did that. The biggest gift we got was a couple people were very gracious, able to do it, and saw the value of the ministries the diocese are doing. And the biggest gift we got was $6,000, a little over that. And then as you look down the list, people gave what they could. They were good stewards, I hope, of what they were given. And you keep going down, and suddenly you get down and you realize there are an awful lot of gifts that are, $100 or less. And that group, that made the difference. That's what got us to our goal. And so if you ever find yourself in that situation, whether it is in money, an appeal like that, or maybe it's in helping the poor or something like that, you say, well, yes, I could drop $1 in the in the poor box, or maybe I could help the food pantry a bit, what good would it do? What difference would it make? You must not do that. You must remind yourself that the Lord takes small things and does wonderful things with it. You will remember, of course, the story of the 5 loaves and 2 fish that Jesus took and fed 5,000 people with that. 5 loaves, 2 fish, not very much. But the person that gave him that food, they were just being a good steward and said, well, Lord, I don't think this is going to matter to all these people, but here, you can have it. And the Lord did a wonderful thing. That's what the Lord did here with the ministry appeal, this past year, just lots and lots of people, about 600 people, 600 families, put in whatever the Lord put on their heart to do it, and it all added up to our goal and helped the diocese a great deal. That's a wonderful thing. So we don't want to be like this guy who chooses not to be a good steward. So maybe we have to put a little extra effort put a little extra effort into it. That's certainly my thing. Maybe we just have to trust a little bit that the little we're doing, or maybe the lot that we're doing, matters. And I can assure you, I've got a lot of experience with this over the years. Small stuff in our faith matters a great deal.